Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. So, the Game Awards will take place tonight, where we should get some pretty major game reveals and announcements, which of course we will talk about all of that tomorrow. But, well, there is actually a few things happening today as well, including what looks like it might be a hint towards Halo Infinite's future. It does sound like a big expansion might be on its way, so we will talk about that one today. And then also, the first third-party PlayStation 5 controller has now been revealed, though this one's a little bit more on the pricey side, but at the same time it does look really good, so we will talk about that one as well. To start this video off though, we are going to be taking a look at Xbox as they have officially announced the Winter Game Fest demo event, which will take place from now all the way to December 21st. And what this event is where they release a bunch of demos from upcoming unreleased games. Now keep in mind that some of these demos are very early in development, so it's clear that these games aren't necessarily finished or anything, but this is actually a way for them to replicate a show floor demo that you would typically see at something like E3, Gamescom, or in this case, the Game Awards. So while we have been living in this more digital age here in recent years, this is a good way for them to get these demos out in the players' hands, and there's actually some really interesting games here for you to play this year up until December 21st. Yeah, this includes 36 different games, and several of these are actually really interesting. Now, I will leave a link in the description below for the entire list, but the ones that stood out to me would be Demon Turf, which is actually a pretty good 3D platformer that's already available on the Nintendo Switch. Playtonic Games, the studio behind Yooka-Laylee, did publish Demon Turf, so they do seem to know how to spot pretty good games, especially when it comes to 3D platformers. So if you do like this genre, definitely check out Demon Turf. Now, another game that Xbox fans have been anticipating for quite a while has gotten yet another demo here, being Tunic. This is a game that was announced way back on the Xbox One, and it was immediately recognized for its gorgeous visuals and its inspiration on the top-down Zelda franchise. However, here we are now in the Xbox Series generation, and we still have not gotten this game, but at the same time, this game continues to look really good. It is being handled by what I think a singular developer. He might have actually gotten a little bit of help on this game by this point, but nonetheless, this game continues to look really good, and you will be able to check it out here with this demo. Another couple games that you might want to check out here, though, would be Nobody Saves the World and then also Loot River. Nobody Saves the World is actually coming from the Guacamelee developer, which is an excellent Metroidvania, so this one is definitely worth paying attention to, and I've already been hearing fans say that this is a really good game based off of what they've played so far, so definitely check that one out. And then Loot River, this is one that has stood out to me for a little while now. This is like this puzzle-based hack and slash dungeon crawler set in a very grim and dark world. It looks unique, it looks challenging, and yeah, I definitely want to check this one out myself. But yeah, if you're interested in playing some different demos throughout the next couple weeks, go over to Xbox and download some of these games. Again, there are 36 games available, which I will leave a link in the description below. Next up, we're going to talk about that God of War PC version, as this is a game that will be releasing next month on January 14th. Yeah, it's almost kind of hard to believe that one of PlayStation's biggest franchises is now heading over to PC. But here we are. This is the future, and with that, Sony did reveal a new trailer yesterday that went over some of the different features that are included in this PC version. This includes 4K resolution, unlocked frame rate, high-res shadows, better reflections. It has NVIDIA DLSS as well as NVIDIA Reflex, and it also does include mouse and keyboard support for those who do prefer that, as well as, of course, gamepads. That one is kind of peculiar right there, because I do imagine that a lot of people will be playing this game with an Xbox controller. I do imagine that that will work with God of War, and I mean, that is just such an odd and surreal experience to imagine that you can play a God of War game with an Xbox controller. Nonetheless, God of War is an excellent game, and in my opinion, it's one of the most perfect single-player experiences that you can really play. So if you do like story-driven single-player games, you absolutely need to check this game if you haven't already. I myself might actually go out and rebuy this again, because I kind of want to check this game out on the Steam Deck. Yeah, that console continues to look really good, and with PlayStation committing more and more to PC, well, that's just one more reason for me to be excited about the Steam Deck, where I can play some big AAA PlayStation games on a handheld device. Let's go and talk about Xbox though, as some very interesting information popped up for Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite, of course, fully released yesterday with that single player campaign, and I know a lot of people's really been enjoying it, myself included. Honestly, I was kind of surprised by how good the single player campaign actually is. I've only played it a couple hours so far, but I think this game immediately absorbs you into the world, its story, and characters. It feels excellent, it looks really good, and it's actually really interesting as well. I'm very, very impressed with what I've played of Halo Infinite so far. But this is kind of the thing when it comes to Halo Infinite, because 343 has kind of expressed interest in making this a game to last for years and years. It sounds like their vision for Halo Infinite is to support this game for the next 5 to 10 years with more and more content. Now, this is a lot different than what we've seen with past Halo games. Typically, they just release the single player campaign and that's just kind of it. But with Halo Infinite being an open world style of game, this changes everything. We also do know that a lot of content was cut from this game, and then on top of that, I mean, games as a service games have really just become a big thing in general anymore, so they could easily release more and more content into Halo Infinite as time goes on, and that is something that they have, again, expressed interest in. So with all of that in mind, it has now been discovered that they have just filed a new trademark for Halo the Endless. Now, as of this moment, we don't know exactly what Halo the Endless is, but what we do know is that it could possibly be related to video games, and I've been hearing a lot of different speculation that this could possibly be related to its story, as there's some hints of what the Endless could be. Now, I'm not going to go into any details for spoiler-related reasons, and for that matter, I mean, I'm only like a couple hours into the story myself, but I've been hearing the word flood being thrown around quite a bit when talking about the Endless. So fans have been asking for the flood to return to Halo for some time now. I mean, that was a big part of the original Halo trilogy, but we haven't seen 343 really incorporate flood themselves. But what if they had their own version of the flood? And maybe that's something that we could get with a big DLC expansion. I don't know about you all, but I find that incredibly exciting if true. The flood really always added this horror-like element to the franchise that was really unique and interesting, so I would like to see them play around with that idea a little bit, and because Halo Infinite is made the way it is, I mean, maybe we could get a big expansion that incorporates that type of playstyle. I mean, we'll kind of have to wait and see, but I think this might be the first big hint that we've seen so far that, yeah, they could be adding some big expansions down the road. Of course, this is all just speculation. Nothing has been confirmed just yet, other than the fact that they have trademarked whatever Halo the Endless is. I guess we'll have to see in due time, but let me know in the comments below on what you think about this particular trademark. And also, let me know if you all have been enjoying the single player campaign. Again, I know I have been having an absolute blast with it. Now, we do also have a new third-party PlayStation 5 controller to talk about today, and the reason this is significant is because this is really the first third-party controller available for the PlayStation 5. Though I think the overall appeal for this controller might be a little limited compared to maybe your PowerA controllers or some of your cheaper controllers in general. This one is actually coming from Scuff, which typically what they do is they make good competitive esports styles of controllers. If you play any type of competitive shooter, these are supposed to help you in some of the response time. It might make your button clicks and button pulls just a little bit shorter, and with every millisecond of response time, that is important for a competitive shooter. These controllers also have customizable back paddles on the back, which really I have no idea why Microsoft and Sony does not do this themselves by this point, because it really is incredibly useful in especially competitive shooters. Here I'm playing Halo Infinite, and I would love to have some back paddles on that standard controller. So this feature is really good, but the thing about Scuff is all of this comes at a very steep price. Scuff is offering 3 separate options here for the PlayStation 5, one being the Reflex sitting at $200, then at $230 you can get the Reflex Pro, and then sitting at $260 you can get the Reflex FPS. All 3 of which does of course have different features. The Reflex Pro and Reflex FPS, as an example, does have a high performance grip around the back for them to be easier to hold. And then with the Reflex FPS, which is the most expensive of the bunch, this is the one that has instant triggers. So if that is something that's really important for you, you'd probably want to go with that option at $260. And even though these are expensive and everything, Scuf does have a really good reputation, and that's one reason that so far they're actually already selling out. I don't know how many they exactly made, but thus far they have sold out of that initial stock. But if this is something that you're interested in, I would keep an eye on it, and hopefully you can get the next Scuf controller in the future. For myself, I'm not really particularly interested in a device like this. I would actually prefer to see some cheaper alternatives for the PlayStation 5 controller to come out instead. I mean, especially for parents looking for a controller to get their kids, or maybe you want an extra controller for cooperative, but you don't really want to spend the $70 for a first-party PlayStation 5 controller. It would be nice for that cheaper alternative, so hopefully we get some of those here in the near future. Now, one last thing that I wanted to talk about is a couple of different digital sales that are taking place right now in part of the Game Awards. And this is over at Xbox as well as Steam. Now, we all know that Steam has some pretty incredible deals, which we'll get to here in just a moment. But if you take a look over here at Xbox, there are some really good looking games here. I mean, just kind of scrolling through this, there's games like Psychonauts 2 for $39. Please, everybody, go check that game out. It really is amazing. Resident Evil Village, another Game of the Year candidate, sitting at $30. It Takes Two, $20. Death's Door, this is an interesting one that I feel like a lot of people missed out on, but this is an incredible Zelda-like game sitting at $15. You have Guardians of the Galaxy, which released in just the last couple months at $39. Life is Strange, True Colors, $39. Monster Hunter World, sitting at $15. Scarlet Nexus, a great JRPG that released this year, $36. Alan Wake Remastered, $24. Little Nightmares 2, $20. Lost in Random, $20. And the list just kind of goes on and on. I will leave a link in the description below so you can check out all of the different Xbox related deals. So if you are looking for some games to pick up this holiday, definitely go check that out. Now, as for Steam, I mean, you're looking at something very similar here. Life is Strange, True Colors is $39. Guilty Gear, released earlier this year, $39. Deathloop, yeah, another Game of the Year candidate, $30. Once again, you have Psychonauts 2 at $39. Please, everybody, go check that game out. You have Back 4 Blood at $42. And I mean, all these games are games that released really in just the last year. I'm really starting to question myself on why in the world do I buy games new at all anymore. It just seems like anymore games go on a discount in like a month or two at this rate. I mean, I was talking about this earlier, but Shin Megami Tensei 5, I got it for $60 last month, and now it's being sold for like $36, and that's with the Steelbook limited edition case. Yeah, I'm gonna have to question myself moving into 2022. Before I go, though, we do need to talk about one last thing, being the poll of the day, where I asked you all if you like Sonic games, which do you prefer, 2D or 3D Sonic games? We do know the next big Sonic game will be showcased tonight at the Game Awards, which is going to be a big 3D adventure, but it seems like the 3D games have been a little mixed in terms of reception. So I wanted to know from you all, which do you prefer? And well, 52% of you said that you do like the 2D Sonic games more, with 21% saying 3D, while 18% said you like both of them equally. And okay, I do completely understand this because, like I said before, the 3D games have been a little bit more mixed in reception, whereas the 2D games have been just much more consistent. I mean, that's really how Sonic started off, as a 2D experience where it just blew up on the Sega Genesis. At the same time, though, I do have a bit of a soft spot for the 3D franchise because I loved Sonic Adventures 2 on the Sega Dreamcast. That's really when I started to like the Sonic games a lot, and I started to buy into these games a lot more from that point forward. But even then, the 3D iterations have just been much more inconsistent, whereas your 2D games have consistently been pretty good. I mean, the original games were really good, and then you also have Sonic Mania, which was excellent and one of the better 2D platformers that's available in recent years. So yeah, I completely understand why so many people would like that 2D franchise. But at the same time, I really am hoping that this new Sonic game will turn things around for the 3D franchise as well. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.